Golden State Media Concepts social media podcast. Time to hashtag everything. We talk about all the fun, crazy stories on social media. From Instagram to Facebook, Twitter to Tumblr, or probably even Friendster. Join us each week as we explore the quirky side of social media. It's the Golden State Media Concepts social media podcast.
It's simple, such a sad song. The one that we rely on to get us.
Thanks for tuning in to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Hello again, I'm your host, Kayla Moeller. I hope everybody is staying healthy out there because this is certainly getting wild. I can't even go to the gym nowadays. Well, not that I go to the gym, but I mean, hey, what if I wanted to start going to the gym? Can't do it now. Okay, so everything and anything is all about coronavirus right now. As it should be. It's a dangerous, terrible virus that we should definitely all be taking seriously. I can't think of a more fitting situation for the whole it's better to be safe than sorry thing. My family in San Francisco is on lockdown right now with the whole shelter in place. They can't leave the house. And I'm sure LA, where I'm at right now, isn't too far behind. I talked to my grandmother this morning, and she's so stubborn. She was still at her office trying to do work, and we'll tell her to not do that. And she's like, I need to get this done so I can retire because she doesn't want to work next year. So she's I don't know. She's so stubborn. But she told me that the police came into her office and made her leave, escorted her out, kicked her out of her office. And you know what? Good. I'm glad they did that. But apparently, if they catch you out again after a warning or whatever, they'll fine you. They're even putting some people in prison or something. That's what she heard. I don't know. I haven't even left the house much because I live with an elderly lady, and oh my gosh, she is so lovely, so wonderful, and I am trying to keep her healthy and safe at all costs. So I'm just kind of quarantining myself just to, again, it's better to be safe than sorry. And the main thing that makes this so scary, I think, is the uncertainty. No one has any answers. It's brand new. There's not a set plan for anything. We don't know how things are going to turn out because we've never seen anything like this. And we don't know what the long-term effects will be. And there are a lot of conspiracies out there about the virus. There's a lot of people saying stuff on social media like, oh, the coronavirus was a population control method gone wrong in China. Like, China invented the virus and thought they would have it contained, and then it got out of hand, and now it's this worldwide pandemic because it's more contagious than they thought or something. And also, China now is saying, or people, I don't know, they're saying that that the Americans started it, like the U.S. Army started it or something. I don't know. It's just incredible with the amount of conspiracies going on right now. And to me, I think these conspiracy theories are people's way to cope with something like this. It's easier to think there was a plan and that someone was behind all of this because then it at least offers an explanation. It's better to think of some evil person or big government intentionally setting this off than to believe something this vast could just happen like this out of nowhere, and that we, the people, have no control, that nobody has any control. Not one person on earth has control over it. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, these theories at least offer some sort of explanation, which is easier to believe than not having anything to base it off of. And I just wanted to get all of that out of the way first, because some of these conspiracy theories that I'm about to talk about do seem a bit convincing, but you can, take it or leave it. So some folks are thinking the virus is some sort of bioweapon that was intentionally created in a lab. And I've seen a lot of people sharing an opinion article, that on Twitter and Facebook, everything, from this guy named Stephen Mosher of the New York Post. And he says a couple of different things. First, he goes on to say that the only microbiology lab in China that's capable of, holding viruses like the coronavirus and stuff happens to be located in Wuhan, which is right where the outbreak started. And to back up his theory, he says that the Chinese Ministry of Science and Technology released something, and it was titled, this is the title, Instructions on Strengthening Biosecurity Management in Microbiology Labs That Handle Advanced Viruses Like the Novel Coronavirus. And I searched for that piece, that directive, but I couldn't really find anything. But even if that directive were released, even if that were actually a true document that's out there, an easy explanation is that, now that the coronavirus is out, there are people working on isolating it, getting it back into labs to study it, get a handle on it, study it for vaccines, mutations, what have you. So they want to re-up security measures in these labs to make sure that when they have it in there, it doesn't accidentally slip out and reinfect the population again for the second time. It doesn't mean that it just slipped out the first time. Maybe they just want to they see how dangerous it is, so they really want to re-up their security measures to make sure that something like that doesn't ever happen. And, also scientists all over have debunked the whole lab-made theory thing and have said that there's no way it was created and that it is from animals and it mutated to infect a human, and then when it was in a human, it mutated again to be able to jump from human to human. So here comes Mosher again in this article to address the animal claim. He goes on to say that in these research labs, like the one in Wuhan, some of these Chinese research scientists are known to sell their already experimented on animals that they don't need anymore. So they make money off these lab animals like monkeys and rats that aren't of any use to them anymore. So they, tested on them, experimented on them, and now they're done with them. So instead of just properly disposing of them, I don't know. It's sad. I don't know what they do. But this guy is saying that these scientists are using it as a side hustle. They're selling these animals to food markets or people as pets and whatever, and that could have happened that way too. I don't know. But scientists are saying that the coronavirus came from a bat. And Mosher says bats weren't sold at the seafood market in Wuhan where it all started. But what he fails to mention is that it was also a live animal market. It was a seafood market and live animal market. But whether or not bats were there at the market is irrelevant. A bat could have infected another animal because coronavirus before it came to humans, was really common between animals. So a bat could have easily infected another animal, and then an animal at that market could then have been the culprit that transferred it to a human. So I don't know. Take with that what you will. It is a convincing conspiracy theory. I'll give them that. But me personally, I'm going to stick with the animal transmission theory from the many, many scientists all around the world. We're about to have a little break here, but don't go anywhere. Next, I'm going to talk about some tips and tricks for learning at home, some things to do while stuck in the house, and then a bit later, we'll talk about some celebrities who have evidently contracted the virus. We'll be right back.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Hello, we are back. I was just telling you about some conspiracy theories that have gained a lot of attention online, particularly an opinion article from the New York Post. Again, my theory on conspiracies like this are just that it's easier for people to believe this sort of stuff was some sort of agenda rather than just believing that this can just happen for really no reason at all other than that's life. So anyways, I'm sure everyone is very bored at home like I have been. Pretty much all schools and colleges are shut down and parents are trying to homeschool, and college kids are tackling the challenge of online learning. So I'm going to talk about some stuff that will hopefully alleviate some stress or make things easier for you. So parents, try to keep the kids' school time routines going. And don't worry, I don't mean all the learning stuff, but like when was snack time, when was lunchtime, recess, etc. Try to be consistent in timing of that stuff so they feel somewhat normal. So if they had snack at 10, then give them a snack at 10. If they had lunch and recess at 12:30, then, give them some lunch and let them play in the backyard or whatever kids like to do at recess nowadays. Play on their iPad. And also, there are plenty of ways to keep the kiddo's brain stimulated without worksheet after worksheet or a teacher standing in the front with a whiteboard. Take this time to put together a puzzle or a Lego set or even build like a complex fort. Everybody loves forts. I would love to build a fort. I'm 23 and I still want to do that. But you can make it into a learning thing. Like build a fort and then talk them through why some parts of it will stand and why you need to put a heavier pillow on this side. Kind of make it into a learning curve, but it's still fun for them. Show them some of your favorite songs from when you were a teenager or even when you were their age. And me personally, I think the arts are so important always, but especially during childhood. Get out some markers or paintbrushes and just let them express themselves. And also, put some of that music on in the background and blast it loud. Just let loose with your kids. It's just as good as learning in a school, if not better, if you ask me. And have fun with it. I mean, you're spending time with your kids. Get to know them better. Try to be their friend, but then also make things fun, you know? You could get them coloring books and teach them how to color in between the lines, all that sort of stuff. And for those who want more structure, then you can head to NASA's website, who has provided a bunch of STEM activities to do, and they've broken it up by age group or grade. And I looked at some of them, and they look pretty fun. Some are easier than others because some of them you might not have all the materials handy with you in your house, and a lot of people can't just get up and head to the store right now. But, you know, be creative with it. Kind of pull out that old junk drawer and see what you have in there, pipe cleaners or whatever, and just be creative. You know, it's a good time for you, too, to kind of let loose and maybe do some art with your kids. Art is important as an adult as well. Okay, moving on to college students. So if you're in college, then you're most likely in the middle of shifting all of your lectures to online stuff and all of that. It's confusing, challenging, a big adjustment. I get it. So I would start by making sure you have a tidy workspace. You know, maybe don't do your work on the kitchen counter next to the sink full of dirty dishes. Me personally, before I have something big to do, like a big project or big paper to work on, I will clean my room first. So I have a clean slate space, and it just helps me stay on top of things, and I feel better. But if you don't want to clean your whole entire room, then I'd suggest at least just clearing off a little nice workspace for when you're attending these online lectures or whatever it is that you're doing. I just think that it helps with productivity. If at least around you is a little bit cleared off, then I think that it helps your mind be a little bit cleared out to learn. And we're also always so distracted by our phones. So if you don't need your phone for that particular online course, then turn it off or put it on Do Not Disturb and stick it in a drawer so you can't reach it while you're learning or doing whatever you're doing. This will limit distractions. You know, if you're just getting notifications or someone Snapchats you, it takes your mind off of things. So just put it out of your reach where you can't see it or hear it. And most college kids also take notes on their laptop now. But if you're already learning through your laptop, then maybe try and make the switch to handwritten note-taking for now at least. It's better for retaining information anyways. And I personally prefer handwriting my notes, but it doesn't work for everyone. I get it because typing is a lot faster and it's easier to keep up with the professor and what they're saying by typing because it goes quicker. But if you're already not there in person with them, then maybe just try out the handwriting to make it feel more real or whatever. Just, you know, you're already doing something different. So I think that this would be a good time to maybe try switching up your note taking because who knows, you might like it a lot better. And if you don't, then just go back to typing it out on your laptop. But I would suggest just giving it a try. And for people who are just plain old bored, maybe you have some downtime or a lot of downtime and you're just tired of watching Netflix all the time or sitting and staring at the wall, download some games on your phone, but educational ones, you know, like word games, perhaps Words with Friends, the Scrabble app, or Wordscapes. I love those ones. They're like my favorite games. Or if you're hungry, you can play around with some recipes. There are actually websites out there that you can plug in what you already have in your house, and it will generate some recipes for you that you can make right then and there without having to go get anything at the store. Or you could take this time to get ahead on some spring cleaning It was the first day of spring. Hooray. Can't even leave the house. But you can channel your inner Marie Kondo and go around the house decluttering things that don't bring you joy. But, right now are some hard times. So if you have clothes, food, I guess food is pretty precious right now, but maybe think about, instead of throwing it all away, put things to the side that you can donate later when you are allowed to leave the house or when things calm down, I guess. And if you feel like expanding your knowledge horizon, then you can head to freecodecamp.org to take an online course for free. There are a bunch of different classes to choose from, and they even come from Ivy League schools. So that's pretty cool. I mean, if you just want to get back into the groove of learning, then that would be a good one. And also, why don't you check out the rest of GSMC's podcasts? We've got a bunch to choose from, a variety of topics, and you might find a new favorite podcast. Besides this one, of course. It's about break time again. Coming up, I'm going to list off some celebrities with coronavirus, and I'm also going to talk about some weird stuff, some bizarre situations that have happened as a result of this crazy pandemic. So I'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Back. Okay. Hello. Just got done talking about ways to keep yourself occupied while stuck at home. Keep the kids stimulated, but not just with boring school stuff. Let them think outside the box, experiment with arts and crafts and such. College students shifting to online courses, try to keep your space clean and put your phone out of reach. And everyone else, just try new things until you find something that suits you. I mean, as terrible as this is, we do have a lot of downtime to ourselves, and this is a good time to pick up a hobby at home, an at-home hobby. I'm sure you can find something. I mean, I guess this podcast is mine for now. So, the coronavirus is almost the only thing going on right now, clearly. There's not much else to talk about because it took over and everything else is canceled. Everything else that there would be to talk about is canceled. So now there's really nothing else to talk about. So let's just talk about some of the weird stuff happening because of this virus. So in Thailand, there are a bunch of monkeys, right? Just the place is teeming with them. I've seen them. They're cute, yes, but also extremely vicious. You got to be careful around them. And Thailand relies heavily on tourism, and so do those monkeys. The monkeys' main food source comes from these tourists who go there and feed them. There's even like some sort of festival where a bunch of people go and build towers and mounds of just fruit and vegetables and everything for these monkeys. So they've become a bit spoiled, I'd say. So now everything's all out of whack. There aren't any tourists right now, so these monkeys are starving and aggressive as all you can imagine. They have monkey gangs, and they're all just battling it out right now in the streets of Thailand. And it's by the thousands. Like, I'm not just talking about like, a couple monkeys here and there. They are running rampant. There are thousands of them. They're fighting over food. They're fighting each other. They're attacking humans who have bags because they think they're so desperate that they need to get their hands on anything. And monkeys are pretty smart. So they think, oh, bag, there might be something to eat in there. So they're just grabbing anything they can get their hands on. And they're scary, and they are not afraid to just come right up to you and attack you pretty much. They're in desperation mode. And they're crazy. They're climbing all up on buildings, cars, everything. They're pretty much taking over. And I bet it's a sight to see in person. And if you're curious, you can search it up. There's plenty of YouTube videos and whatnot of these monkey gangs just swarming the streets of Thailand. Okay, so if you're a fan of that reality TV show Big Brother, the German version of the show had contestants on it who knew absolutely nothing about what was going on outside of their walls, not even the coronavirus, because obviously they're not allowed to have any contact with the outside world. And the producers decided they were going to tell the cast in a special episode that aired live. So they showed the contestants a video that caught them up on everything. And needless to say, they were all shocked and devastated, and some people cried. It was probably a lot to take in. They each got to video call their family members, which was nice, to check in. And the relatives were kind of trying to make light of the situation, and they were saying, well, at least all of you guys are probably in the safest place to be, which is true because they're not going to get infected. But except for, I'm pretty sure they introduced some new contestants, I think on March 9th or something, and they were forbid to talk about the virus. But I'm sure they must have tested them before letting them go into the house. I can't imagine that they wouldn't. But it's a pretty overwhelming situation. And all of the contestants have decided to continue with the show. But apparently the cast of the Brazilian Big Brother have not been told yet. And that story is still unraveling. There's a lot of criticism in that regard, which is why the German contestants were told, because of all of the backlash from the viewers. Which I agree, because these contestants may have family members or close friends who are immunocompromised, and they should definitely know how the severity of the situation, because me personally, I would want to know if this was going on, and especially if I had somebody close to me who could be really affected by this, and then God forbid if something were to happen to them, then the contestants would at least be a little bit prepared. It wouldn't have been out of the blue while they're just on some silly TV show, then they wouldn't get the call and be like, what the heck just happened? I didn't even know this was going on. So this way they have a little bit more preparedness for it. Okay, and oh my God. Have you guys seen that cringy video circulating on social media that Gal Gadot from Wonder Woman put together? I literally got secondhand embarrassment from watching it. If you haven't seen it, it's basically a video compilation of a bunch of celebrities singing Imagine by John Lennon. There are some big names in there too. Amy Adams, Natalie Portman, Will Ferrell, Jimmy Fallon, just to name a few. So each person sings a different line or lyric or whatever. And I see what she was trying to do. She meant well. But oh my goodness gracious, it just did not turn out very good at all. And people on social media are, well, let me just read you a tweet from @JoshGondelman. No politician can unify people in the way that the Imagine video seems to have united every single person against it. It's just a bit hard to watch. I get it. They really meant well. But oh my, give it a rest, celebrities. Or instead of wasting your time with a cringy video in an insane attempt to somehow bring people together, then maybe you could actually bring people together by using your platform to push for change so Americans can get the healthcare that they need, not just in a pandemic, but always. And speaking of celebrities, quite a few have tested positive for coronavirus, and a lot of celebrities have just taken the test for the hay of it, it seems like, because they don't have any symptoms, while regular citizens with actual aching pains and symptoms can't find a freaking test anywhere. It's all very bizarre. But anyways, Tom Hanks and his wife, Rita Wilson, were among the first celebrities to announce testing positive for the virus. And this then encouraged Idris Elba to tell the public he tested positive as well, because they don't want to stigmatize the virus and they really want to emphasize that it can happen to anyone. And then let's see. Rudy Gobert, a Utah Jazz player, tested positive, as well as Kevin Durant, who was just at the Lakers game like a week ago. So a bunch of people are having to go into quarantine for that. And the entire Lakers team got tested, of course. So they got tested from their cars with a cotton swab to the nose. So I'm sure if anybody has it, then we'll hear about it soon. But see, it's just so easy for famous people to get tested. And they should get tested, but so should everybody else. Okay, but coming up after the break, we're going to talk about good old planet Earth and the earthquake that shook Utah in a rare event. We'll be right back.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Hey there guys, we're back. I just talked about crazy monkeys in Thailand who are deprived from food from the tourists who have now become non-existent. And that reality show Big Brother who had to reveal to their contestants what was going on in the outside world with this pandemic. And I also talked about celebrities who have tested positive, like Tom Hanks and Kevin Durant. And just to elaborate on that, so I see all these horror stories on Twitter of people who had symptoms and they go and get tested for the flu and mono and strep, and the results are all negative. So it's kind of like, then obviously they have coronavirus. They have all the symptoms and then they tested negative for everything else. So what else could it be? But there aren't any tests to give them. So they're told to call the CDC, who then tells them to call the health department. And then the health department says to call the hospital and blah, 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 blah. It's just a big snowball. And nobody actually knows what to do. And everybody's running around like a chicken with its head cut off. And we need help, and we need it fast, because these normal, average, regular, everyday citizens are who are the most dangerous. They're the ones, or we are the ones walking around grocery stores and in public areas amongst everyone. Not these high-class famous people who are just going from private car to private car and then back to their mansion where their assistants bring them their groceries. You know, like, it's more important for us everyday people to get tested because we're the ones who are more likely to spread it. We're the one here with everybody doing everyday things. So isn't it more imperative that the people who are out and about with the general public are the ones who get tested? That's what makes sense to me, but that's not what's happening. So it's kind of a big cluster ball of bad words. Okay, but anyways, moving on. So there was a earthquake in Utah on Wednesday, March 18th. It was a magnitude 5.7 quake, which is a pretty solid shake. And Utah isn't used to earthquakes, so it was a bit scary for them. Well, all earthquakes are scary, but you know what I mean? It's not like it was in California. So the earthquake happened about 10 miles west of Salt Lake City in a place called Magna early in the morning. And right after the quake, about 73,000 people were without power. And there were some damaged buildings, broken household items, but there weren't any major injuries reported, which is great. And Salt Lake City has a pretty iconic Mormon temple. And during the earthquake, the angel Moroni, I think that's how you say it, this statue, it lost its trumpet. So that came off and it fell on the roof or something. I think that they're working on getting it repaired. And the airport's temporarily shut down. But I think that was the worst of it. It's just poor timing with the whole coronavirus thing, because all the phone lines connecting to virus hotlines were down for quite some time. And it's kind of a scary reminder that Mother Earth does not wait for anything. Here we are, the people of the world, struggling terribly with a deadly virus, forgetting that natural disasters can still happen at any time. These things don't care about worldwide pandemics. They strike when they strike, and that's it. And it's also worrisome. But we're so engrossed in this pandemic that we're neglecting to think about everything else. Because also, if you think about it, people are still out driving in their cars. There's accidents that are happening. There's people who are just getting the regular flu and becoming really sick. There's fires. There's domestic violence. All of that is still going on. You know, the world doesn't just come to a halt, but it's kind of scary because all the beds are going to get used up here pretty soon. And then what's going to happen to people who are sick or get in an accident that's completely unrelated to coronavirus? You know, the world still goes on. So if you're having all of the normal bad stuff in the world, plus all of this coronavirus stuff, it's just really, really scary. Nobody knows what's going to happen. There's no crystal ball. People who say they know how it's going to go down, they don't. No one knows. The only way to figure it out is to just live through it, and ride it out. And once we get through the worst of it, it's still going to have some long-term effects. We don't know what the people who have recovered are going to be like in 5 years, or I think they're going to have lung damage, right? That's what people are saying. But again, nobody actually knows. But at the same time, the absence of human pollution has been putting quite the halt on climate change, it seems like. I've seen a lot of people on social media talking about how now that humans are quote unquote gone due to corona, the earth has begun to heal itself. For example, the Venice canals in Italy have cleared up. The waterways are all clear, and you can see the fish swimming around, and even the swans and other wildlife have returned. Now, I mean, this also might be just because there aren't boats going in and out of there all the time, so the stuff that's usually in the water has settled to the bottom. But still, I mean, at least it's kind of given it a break. The fish are happily swimming through. The swans are back. Smog in China has significantly cleared. And overall, pollution everywhere has pretty much been put on hold. There really isn't much. I have been driving around just because, I'm bored and I'm safe in my car. And I can see the city of Los Angeles pretty well because there hasn't been much smog. So that's pretty cool. It's kind of like an unexpected benefit of this dreaded virus. Our planet can kind of take a deep breath, but at what cost? Our own humans are dying. But from a climate change perspective, we can see how detrimental our methods are. Humans existing on Earth are not the problem. We're supposed to be here. Our life can be sustained here, so we're here. We can survive here, so we should be here. We're another animal. But it's the way we're doing things that's causing our planet to rot. And having all this smog and pollution in the air is harmful to the planet, yes, but also to us. It hurts our lungs. And now look, we're fighting a terrible respiratory virus that will most likely have long-term effects on, yes, our lungs. It's all a big circle. But I do think this virus has shown us that our planet is capable of healing and making a comeback, as long as we're up for the challenge of changing our methods. And I think it's necessary for the greater good and future of our planet to give up some small individual freedoms. It's just worth it. And that's the end of it. It just has to be worth it. And I don't know how anybody could say otherwise. It's not about you, and it's not about about this is America and I want freedom, daggone it. It's about us, all of us, and the future of humanity. It's not about now, it's about later. It's just so selfish to not take it seriously. I mean, the deniers, I feel like, are getting proved wrong right now in front of our eyes. Because look humans have kind of taken a step back right now, and the earth is kind of starting to scab up. It's starting to heal. So again, it's not the humans that are the problem. I think it's just the methods that we have come up with. We can change them and we can come up with new ones. We're humans. We're complex beings capable of adapting. And it doesn't come easy. Don't get me wrong. But again, it's worth it. It just has to be. All right. Coming up next, we are going to talk about Tom Brady's big switch. Don't go anywhere.
Always on the go, but the day just won't be one without your Hollywood fix. Let Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast take care of that. Jordan and Keith is Entertainment Tonight meets Access Hollywood.
I'm Jordan. The guy laughing, that's Keith.
Yeah, I'm Keith. An all-inclusive look of pop culture.
Hiya, welcome back to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast. I was just telling you guys about the weird climate-related phenomena happening due to the absence of the hustle and bustle of commuting and everyday human interaction. And I also talked about that 5.7 earthquake that happened in Salt Lake City, Utah, and how people there aren't really used to that sort of thing. And speaking of people not being used to something, how about Tom Brady being a Tampa Bay Buccaneer? Yes, the 6-ring Super Bowl champ is leaving the Patriots after more than 20 years to join the Buccaneers on a $30 million contract. I mean, I don't really understand football trading or what the strategy is behind all of that, but it's just very odd to me that he went to somewhere so random, I guess, to a team that hasn't even been in the playoffs since 2007. But what do I know? Anyways, he took to Twitter to make a statement, and I'll take a quote from it. He said, quote, "Our team has always set a great standard in pro sports, and I know it will continue to do just that. Although my football journey will take place elsewhere, I appreciate everything that we have achieved and am grateful for our incredible team accomplishments. I have been privileged to have had the opportunity to know each and every one of you and to have the memories we've created together." End quote. Cute. It's probably pretty hard for him to leave because besides the team that he was so dedicated to, his kids were born and raised there in Massachusetts. It's definitely going to be a pretty big change for the Brady family. So while I was scrolling through Twitter, reading everyone whine about Tom Brady, I also came across some good old-fashioned pickup lines, coronavirus style. It's a whole trend on Twitter called hashtag social distancing pickup lines. And if you're bored stuck at home on Tinder or Bumble or Hinge or whatever people do nowadays, then you can search up this hashtag to find some pretty clever opening lines. I'll read you some that I thought were funny. From @FletchyTags, "Hey baby, you come within 6 feet of here often?" And from @Nand076, "You smell so good. Is that Purell you're wearing?" And lastly, from @RicoSuave60, "Hey babe, can I ship you a drink?" They're really corny, I know, but it's just funny. And anything to make you kind of smile during this, I'm down for. Okay, and now I'm going to tell you a story from Twitter user @Anbara_Salam. She tweeted this in a thread, but it's hilarious. It made me crack up, so I figured I'd read it to you guys in case you need a good laugh. It got quite a bit of attention on Twitter. And it's pretty long, so I'll give you some background first. So basically, she's in Germany going to a spa sauna thing with her boyfriend, and you're supposed to be in the nude in the sauna. So she stripped down, and she's naked, but it turns out she went through the wrong door and she got trapped in this electrical room, and there were signs everywhere saying like, careful of electric shock. And she was in nothing. She was just stark naked, and all she had is this miniature little towel that the sauna or wherever gave her. So she's running around crying at this point, banging on a bunch of doors, but it's so loud because of all the fans and electric currents and everything that no one can hear her. And then finally she goes down a hallway or something and she finds an elevator, and then I'll read it from here. Okay, so this is going to be in her voice and her words. "I go up and down in the lift a few times. There's a security camera in the lift. I'm torn between I don't want anyone to see this and I really, really want somebody to see this and rescue me. I move the little towel between strategic areas while sobbing and waving at the camera. After a few rides up and down, there's a German loudspeaker announcement, and I just know it's about me. Like, the naked girl in the fire escape lift, please stop mashing the buttons, or whatever. But I can't understand it, so I just cry louder and gesture at the camera. Eventually, the lift doors open. A spa employee stands there. He is the most dressed man to ever be wearing clothes. He has brought no towel for me. He says something in German. I cry. He sighs and waves for me to follow him. I go after him, still switching around this washcloth. Apparently, the only way out of the fire escape is to fully leave the building. So I'm cowering on the edge of the pavement, hysterical, and he points around the corner. The only way back in is along the street, through reception, where people are queuing out the building. I now have an out-of-body experience, a shame blackout. I have reached my max. I go fully through embarrassment and out the other side. Time slows down. I can hear the music of the Spheres. I stop crying, drop the washcloth, shoulders back, head high, follow him along the street, past people parking their cars, standing in line with their families. People say things, point. I cannot hear them. I am transcendent with shame, untouchable. Reception is busy. So busy, he has to yell at people to make way so I can get through the crowd. The guy explains, I'm guessing, the situation to the receptionist. This takes actual minutes. An old lady... Sorry. An old lady gives me her pool float. It is shaped like a lobster. The claws rest on my boobs. The receptionist asked me for ID. I'm wearing only a lobster. Where, friends, would I be keeping my expletive ID? Receptionist sighs and lets me through the turnstile. 10 minutes later, when I run sobbing into a towel and find my boyfriend in the cafe, he has the audacity to be grumpy because he's been waiting for an hour. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, sorry, that just cracks me up because I've been kind of in a situation like that, and that was just way worse, and I can't even believe it, and that's hilarious. Okay, but now, hold on everybody, when we come back, I'm gonna give you all the latest entertainment details that are floating around social media.
The GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Hello. We are back. But to recap, I just discussed Tom Brady's joining of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and shared some of his words from the one and only Twitter.com. I also told you a hilarious story that a British girl shared of what she calls her most embarrassing moment while on vacation in Germany. But up next, we are going to talk about Miley Cyrus and Demi Lovato. So amid this whole social distancing thing, Miley Cyrus has a new digital show called Bright Minded Live with Miley on Instagram Live. And it will be a daily Instagram Live series, and the show's purpose is to bring light to a dark time and all that stuff, yada, yada, yada. So, on a recent episode, Miley brought on an old friend of hers, Demi Lovato. They talked about reconnecting and how petty drama is just stupid, and that times like these are what really makes you think, and petty drama is stupid, doesn't matter, and stuff like this, we need to really let all of that stuff go. They talked about their own time with social distancing and what they've been using for self-care, to how to stay positive. And then they also got their dogs and put them up for the camera, which was really cute, and it was kind of like a little virtual dog play date. That was my favorite part. And I don't know if you've seen the Instagram Live of Vanessa Hudgens. She's the girl, she was the star from High School Musical back in the day. But she said some pretty insensitive stuff about the coronavirus that has the internet all riled up. She said, quote, "It's a virus. I get it. Like, I respect it. But at the same time, like, even if everybody gets it, like, yeah, people are going to die, which is terrible, but like inevitable," end quote. And she said that she thinks the idea that it could last all the way to July is a bunch of bull expletive. So she kind of saying she doesn't believe that it's going to last that long. I don't know. She's just kind of implying that she's a coronavirus denier. Not really, but you know what I mean. And everybody on social media is putting her on blast, saying how insensitive she is and how she's just mad that Coachella got canceled, because she was talking about that before she said the quote that I said. But then, you know, Vanessa pulled through. She did the right thing. She took to social media to apologize for her comments. But she did go back on Instagram Live and say that her comments were taken out of context, which maybe they were, but kind of not. She still said them. And in her original video, when she was saying that stuff, she ended it with, "I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be doing this right now." And if you say that, then chances are you're right. You probably shouldn't be doing that thing. And what she said wasn't the best, obviously, but how she said it was extremely annoying. And I think that's what led to the backlash. How I said it, that was really annoying, right? I wasn't like, that's how she said it. That's why I did it like that. It's a virus. Like, I get it. I respect it. You respect the virus? Girl, what? Again, celebrities should just sit this one out. Celebrities are they can be stupid too. They're still people. I mean, I've heard people I know, my friends or people I know from high school, say some really stupid things about coronavirus, and the whole internet isn't up in arms about them. It's just because Vanessa Hudgens is a famous person. So I don't know. And also, Chrissy Teigen defended her and was like, kind of just said what I just said. Like, famous people make mistakes too. She's just saying that. I'm not saying that it was right. It was stupid of her to say, but I mean, just because we're famous doesn't mean we're untouchable, blah, 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 stuff like that. The Tonight Show host, Jimmy Fallon, decided that the show must go on, but doing a regular show at the studio was not an option, so he brought the show home with him. Literally home with him, to his own house. With the help of his wife, daughters, and even the dog, he managed to pull off what he calls the Tonight Show at Home edition. And, you know, what a good sport. And a fun thing to do. It was really very cute, and you can check it out on YouTube. And the opening shot is a handmade drawing from one of his daughters, and it says, "The Tonight Show, starring Jimmy Fallon," and it's in little kid scribble scratch. It's so cute. And then he continues to use a bunch of drawings from his daughters that he's using as his graphics. They drew him a shamrock for St. Patrick's Day because he was kind of doing a little St. Patrick's Day bit too. And he showed it to the camera and described it as actually being a green poop emoji. And that's exactly what it looked like, even though it was supposed to be a shamrock. I loved it. And his wife was the camera woman, and she also kind of performed the laugh track because, you know, in a studio setting, when he makes a joke or something happens or whatever, then the audience laughs, and that's in the background of the show. Even if you're at home, you still hear it. So I thought it was kind of cute. She was laughing at some of the stuff that he was saying and doing. He read off some jokes. I think some people sent in some jokes that he read off, which were pretty funny. And he showed us his dog. He kept a positive attitude. I enjoyed what he did, and I thought it was really wholesome. I thought it was cute that he did that, and he kind of brought awareness to the whole pandemic, and he provided a website to go on if you want to help out and donate getting food to kids who can't or wouldn't otherwise get a meal because they're not in school. So I thought that was really nice of him to take the time and do that in his house. And it was funny because he kept making the joke, hey, here I am in my panic room. I mean, living room. So that was funny. Okay, but that is the end of the show here, folks. So please stay healthy and remember to stay positive. It's kind of hard out there. Take some time off of the news or whatever. Everything is all about the virus. It's going to be getting even more overwhelming, I think, in the coming weeks. I'm sure we'll get some new information over the weekend. Hopefully the numbers don't keep rising. Hopefully everybody's doing their part, social distancing, and we are going to hashtag flatten the curve. So it is really important to maybe just take a break from the news and do some things for yourself, do some things that make you happy, listen to some old music from when you were happier. For me personally, I think maybe I'll go put on some Hilary Duff after this. She's my girl. But anyways, thank you for listening to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Once again, I'm your host, Kayla Moeller. And if you could do me a favor and subscribe to the show and write a nice review, that really, really helps us. And don't forget to give us a follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I just did a cute little post on Facebook of a dog that I found on St. Patrick's Day the other day. I found a lost dog, and I go to grab him, and I look at his collar, and his name was Lucky. How fitting is that for St. Patrick's Day? So if you want to go see that dog Lucky, then go on to the GSMC social media Facebook page. It'll be there. So thanks, guys, so much, and have a wonderful night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Social Media Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.